It was hard sitting on the bench. I'm not going to lie. There were certainly some hard days, but, I think it taught myself how to be a really good leader and how to be a really good teammate and how to empathize for your teammates in certain situations. When you're in the heat of battle, your emotions are high and, you feel things differently. And I think when you're on the sidelines and you don't have your jersey on, you can observe and really watch people and learn about people.
For 3 long months, the world of basketball was filled with a strange and unfamiliar silence. The most electrifying voice in the game, the one belonging to Caitlin Clark, had gone quiet. After a devastating injury cut her season short, the headlines were replaced by whispers, and the highlight reels were replaced by speculation. Fans and analysts debated her timeline, her health, and the future of the Indiana Fever. But from the person at the center of it all, nothing. It was a radio silence that felt deafening. And then it broke. In her first real interview since the injury, Caitlin Clark didn't just give an update. She opened a door into the private, grueling, and transformative journey she's been on. She revealed the excruciating details of the injury, the hidden mental battles fought away from the cameras, and the profound lessons learned in the one place she never wanted to be, the sidelines. This wasn't just an interview, it was a declaration.
Caitlin, what's the status of your health right now, and what specifically injury-wise between the ankle and the groin was it that prevented you from coming back this year?
Yeah, honestly, I've been working really hard to get back to full health, and I feel like probably over these last couple of weeks is when I've probably started feeling my best. Obviously, my ankle kind of didn't allow me to really see where my groin was at. It was, I think, my second full court workout back when we were in, I don't even know what month that would have been, but I just went to kind of make a move, and unfortunately, my ankle completely rolled all the way forward, and probably one of the worst sprains I've dealt with.
The story of Caitlin's season-ending nightmare wasn't a single clean break. It was a cruel cascading failure of the body. It began with a persistent nagging groin injury, a frustrating but seemingly manageable issue she was determined to play through. The grind of professional sports demands you push through pain, and that's exactly what she was doing. She was on a comeback trail, working her way back when the unthinkable happened during a routine workout. As she described it, she went to make a simple move, a cut she's made thousands of times, and her ankle gave out completely. It wasn't just a sprain, it was a catastrophic roll, what she called probably one of the worst sprains I've dealt with. In that single, sickening moment, her entire comeback plan shattered. The groin was no longer the primary issue. She had a brand new and far more severe battle to fight.
I've just tried to stay positive the best I can, and but I honestly feel like I'm in a really good spot, and people don't always realize, people that are kind of in the basketball world, or whether if you're in other sports too, when you're injured, it's honestly more work than when you're playing. So, I've spent so much time here in this building this season just trying to get healthy and trying to kind of just get back to 100%. And honestly, I think that, if I never was, I obviously played that game in Connecticut, and that's where I kind of felt some more pain in my right groin, and then obviously had some tests and other things done, and there was no decision of this is the end of my season. I had full intention of returning, and I think in a way that was probably positive for me, because that's how I approached every single day.
What makes this kind of injury so mentally taxing is the lack of closure. There was no final game, no dramatic exit. One day she was preparing to return, and the next she was starting from square one. As Caitlin revealed, there was never a single moment where a doctor sat her down and said, "Your season is over." Instead, every single day she walked into the training facility with the full intention of getting back on the court. That hope became both her fuel and her torment. Imagine the psychological toll, waking up every day believing you're one step closer, only to be met with another setback, another day of painful rehab, another reminder of how far you still have to go. This wasn't a battle fought in front of cheering crowds. It was a silent, lonely war waged on training tables and in empty gyms, a daily grind that she says is honestly more work, more exhausting than actually playing.
I came in here I was going to play, I was going to get back out on the court, and it probably would have been even more devastating and crushing knowing that I was never going to be able to put my uniform back on for the rest of the season. But you just approach it every single day you attack and get better, and it'll be the same for me going forward. That work doesn't stop, and I think it's just I think I've had really good perspective on it all, and that's probably what I'm most proud of too.
This is the invisible side of an athlete's life that fans rarely get to see. While the team was on the road, Caitlin was in Indiana, putting in long, monotonous hours. It's a world of resistance bands, balance exercises, and endless ice baths. As she put it, people don't always realize when you're injured, it's honestly more work than when you're playing. It's an incredibly isolating experience. The rhythm of your life, which has always revolved around practices, games, and travel, is suddenly gone. You're disconnected from the daily camaraderie of your teammates, operating on a completely different schedule and facing a completely different set of challenges. Still, she powered through day after day with no guarantee of a return and no spotlight to motivate her. It was just the work, pure and simple, driven by the hope that each painful rep was bringing her 1 inch closer to putting her jersey back on.
I think that's probably where people struggle to understand at times is there is a huge difference than me standing there and shooting spot shots and running up and down. But in a basketball game, like, I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm planting here, oh, I'm cutting, oh, I'm doing this, oh, I'm doing that. Like, you're just doing it. So your muscles need to be able to react and withstand that type of stuff. So that's where the 5-on-5 becomes really critical. And then obviously the contact piece of it too. Like, you don't know where you're going to be taking contact from, but you know, my goal, it was the end of October to kind of be out there and trying to get back to playing 5-on-5.
But this forced time away from the court, while physically torturous, sparked an unexpected and profound transformation. For someone as intensely competitive as Caitlin Clark, watching from the sidelines was nothing short of torture. But it also became one of the most powerful learning experiences of her entire career. Stripped of her ability to dominate the game with her skill, she was forced to slow down. She couldn't lead by example with a deep three or a no-look pass anymore, so she had to learn to lead in a different way. She had to lead with her voice. She had to become a better observer, a better listener, and a more present teammate. She found herself in the huddle, not as a player, but almost as an extension of the coaching staff, offering insights and encouragement from a perspective she'd never had before.
I've been grinding as hard as I possibly can, and you know, that's how it's always kind of just been for me. Like, I love the work. I love putting in the work, and you know, that it's been difficult not being able to like see the time you put in, being able to put on your jersey and see it pay off. But I think, like I said, I think it's been a really good opportunity for me to learn a lot about myself and, you know, certain lessons that will probably be really important throughout my career as well.
She admits, with stark honesty, that it wasn't some beautiful, enlightened journey from the start. You know, it was hard sitting on the bench. I'm not gonna lie, she confessed. There were hard days, moments of deep frustration, and an overwhelming ache to just be out there fighting with her team. But in that uncomfortable space, something deeper began to grow: empathy. For the first time, she truly understood what her teammates were going through, not just on the court, but off it. When you're in the heat of battle, she explained, your emotions are high, and you experience everything with an intense personal focus. But from the sidelines, you can see the whole picture. You can see the subtle shifts in body language. You can hear the tone of a teammate's voice, and you can understand the pressure they're under in a more objective, compassionate way.
In the huddle and almost take on the role of another set of coaching eyes with this group this season?
I mean, it's not what I envisioned by any means. But, you know, I've talked with a few people about this. I think, you know, when I get a few years down here in my career, like, I think this is a moment in a season I'll look back on and be like, this is why I am who I am today. And that's obviously probably pretty challenging to think in that way right now, but I truly believe that. And, you know, it was hard sitting on the bench, I'm not going to lie.
This newfound perspective led to what she called the biggest lesson she learned during her time away. It wasn't about X's and O's. She's always been a basketball junkie who learns by watching the game. The real lesson was about people. How can I show up every single day and pour into them? She asked herself. It became her new mission. She realized that leadership isn't just about scoring points or making big plays. It's about showing up for people, especially when the lights aren't shining. She reflected on how devastatingly isolating an injury can be, a feeling you can't truly comprehend until you experience it firsthand. You don't feel it unless you go through it, she stated, vowing that going forward, if she ever has a teammate who's injured or going through a tough time, she will be the first one there for them, because now she gets gets it. That emotional intelligence forged in the fires of her own struggle is going to make her an even more formidable leader when she returns.
And, I don't think it was so much for me like the basketball. I mean, like, obviously you learn about basketball. That's always how I've learned. I've been a basketball junkie. Like, you watch games, you watch the NBA, you watch college, you just have basketball on. That's the best way to improve your IQ. But also to learn about people and ask them questions and watch the way they operate. And for myself, getting to do that with my teammates, I think is probably the biggest lesson I learned. And just, how can I show up every single day and, pour into them.
And while she was navigating this lonely path, she wasn't entirely alone. One presence in particular became a constant source of strength. Aaliyah Boston. Caitlin's face lit up when talking about her, describing her not just as a great player, but as a phenomenal leader and friend who showed up every single day with encouragement and empathy. Boston was the rock that steadied the team through a season of unbelievable adversity, and Caitlin made it clear just how much that consistent support meant to her during the darker moments of her recovery. The crucial relationship between a star point guard and a star center is built on more than just on-court chemistry. It's built on trust, communication, and genuine care, and it's clear their bond has only deepened through this ordeal.
Going forward down the road, like if I have a teammate that's injured or hurt or going through a tough moment, like I know I will always show up for them and be there for them and check in on them, because it is an incredibly isolating thing and you don't realize that until you go through it. And everybody says it, like, but you don't feel it unless you go through it. So I think all of that is probably what I learned most.
But Aaliyah wasn't the only one. Caitlin was quick to credit the entire locker room for creating a culture of support. The team adopted a next woman up mentality that was more than just a cliche. It was their survival guide. Whether it was a star player going down or a new face on a hardship contract stepping in, the culture remained consistent. Show up, work hard, and support each other. That unbreakable bond is what kept the Fever not just competitive, but dangerous. All the way to a Game 5 overtime thriller in the semifinals. For Caitlin, watching that resilience from the outside wasn't just comforting, it was profoundly inspiring. She got a front row seat to the character of her team, and it only made her hungrier to rejoin them.
I mean, I think it's obviously AB's tremendous. Like, we've always had a great relationship, and that's what exactly you need between your post and your point guard. And she's always been somebody that's been there to check in and pick me up. But I think that goes for our entire team, and I think that speaks for our entire season. I don't think it would be, I don't think we would have had the type of success that we had if it wasn't for the friendship or the empathy people showed one another or the next man up mentality. Like, that was shown across the board in our locker room.
Now, with the worst of the recovery behind her, her focus has shifted to the final, and perhaps most difficult, phase getting back to game shape. And as Caitlin explains, there's a universe of difference between looking healthy and being truly ready to play. She can stand and shoot spot-up jumpers for hours. She can jog through drills, but none of that can simulate the chaos of a real game. In a live 5-on-5 situation, you're not consciously thinking, okay, now I need to plant my foot hard here to make this cut. You just do it. Your body has to react instinctively, and your muscles have to be able to withstand the explosive, unpredictable forces of a real game. That unconscious movement is the scariest part of returning from an injury. Your brain has to learn to trust your body again, and that only comes through live action, full speed reps, and taking real contact.
Whether it was, for myself or whether it was for somebody that came in mid-season and got hurt, like, it was always the same. Like, you always care for your teammates in the same manner. So, obviously AB was tremendous in that role, and I think she had an incredible year, but honestly, our entire roster really excelled in that area.
With respect to your recovery, looking down the line, have you explored opportunities maybe to play 5-on-5 during the offseason as part of kind of that ramp up so that you're ready for next season and have played actual basketball before things start up again in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always explore every opportunity, and I haven't made any decisions, and I don't know, what that's necessarily going to look like for me. Like I said, there's some USA basketball stuff that is probably my top priority right now that I need to prepare for, and I think that will help me prepare for next season too. But obviously, then you have to prepare for USA basketball in some manner. So that, there's just a lot of different things you got to figure out and balance, and, I'll work through a lot of that too.
That's why her road back is all about clearing those final hurdles. She's targeted the end of October as her goal to get back into full-scale 5-on-5 competitive basketball. This isn't just about checking a box on a rehab sheet. It's about rebuilding confidence. It's about feeling her ankle hold up after a sharp cut. It's about absorbing an unexpected bump from a defender and realizing she's okay. It's about stringing together those moments until the fear is gone and the confidence in her body is absolute. This is the final step, the one that bridges the gap between being physically healed and being mentally ready to dominate again.
Steph mentioned that it was kind of baby steps and getting back and making sure you don't lose what you've worked on this season. Just what are your plans for the off season and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose a ton of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health. There's some USA basketball stuff I need to get ready for. You know, I need to be able to find some runs and some ways to play 5-on-5 just so I can kind of get that feel back. And but more than anything, I think my main focus is really just getting my body healthy. And once we get back to 5-on-5, like just being able to test my body and make sure I know it's in a good spot where it's going to be able to hold up with everything that, you know, we think we've corrected or we think we've worked on, to be able to know I'm in a really good spot there. And, you know, when you go through injuries, especially in my scenario where it's been a few of the reoccurring kind of bouncing around, which isn't necessarily uncommon in my situation just because of compensation.
And as if rehabbing from 2 major injuries and preparing for a WNBA season isn't enough, she's also got her sights set on her USA basketball commitments. This adds another layer of urgency and intensity to her offseason. It means she needs to ramp up her training, find high-level runs, and make sure her body is peaking at exactly the right time. She plans to take a very brief break, maybe a week, just to decompress, but then it's right back to the grind. She knows that taking too much time off can erase the hard-won progress she's made. It's a packed, demanding offseason, but for Caitlin Clark, it's not just about getting back to where she was. It's about leveling up.
And, you know, when you're dealing with things in that groin area, that just is kind of how it can go sometimes. I think it's important that you can become confident in your body again, and that's for anybody that goes through injury. So that's probably going to be my main focus is, you know, just feeling 100% again, and then obviously, you know, having that confidence in my body too.
After 3 long months of silence, Caitlin Clark didn't just return to the microphone, she delivered a masterclass in perspective, resilience, and unwavering focus. Her words revealed a player who is not only healing physically, but evolving mentally and emotionally. From the grueling hidden work of rehab to the powerful leadership lessons she learned in sweatpants on the bench, her journey has taken a sharp, unexpected turn, one that could very well define the next chapter of her legendary career. If there's one thing that is crystal clear from this interview, it's this: she's not done. She's not even close. So if you thought the hype around Caitlin Clark was fading, you weren't paying attention. The fire is still there, and after months of being contained, it might just be burning hotter and brighter than ever before.